So the last time we started and we created this navbar, completed it all, and you can see the routes are all working perfectly fine. The home page, there's the search bar, there's no functionality right now. And now I'm gonna have to create the backend, right? We're going to the backend part. So let's just cross this out. There's an extra tab opened up. Let's go and click, kill this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, see this is client folder. I traditionally create a server folder. Like if you look at my older videos and all I'm doing like that, but that's a really good practice as well. But the thing is, I'm trying to do a little bit different. I'm gonna use a different provider, which is gonna call Render, another awesome hosting provider to host applications. So for their specific needs, we don't need the package.json inside the server folder that would normally do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up a terminal back, control and backtick, and over here I could go and cd, client. So this is just going to be the client side. But if I do split, I could add one more. So right now I'm in the client, right? But I'm going to go to the root. So I'm going to cd dot dot. Now I'm in the root folder, which is over here, right? Right here, MERN estate. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do my package.json there because I'm using render provider to host this application. This is just their need. It's not a big deal. So you could just kind of think like, we're basically using the root folder as our server folder now, just like you for the easier understanding. So it's pretty simple, all basic stuff. Seriously. Now you're just going to check it out and you're going to see it. What we're going to do is first we're going to have the npm init initialize and -y to get the package.json. If I do this, you can see that this is being created. Now if we look into this, it's by default the name is because of my folder MERN estate, but it's all lowercase. And then over here, of course, this is lowercase as well, the folder, but it just says it just makes it caps by default. Version is 1 by default, description is nothing, and main file they're supposing that there's going to be an index.js. So I'm going to create this, some of the sample scripts and the all that necessary stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to basically create our we're going to basically create our backend folder. Now the backend folder is going to be in here. So we're going to create a folder and we're going to call this as, like server, you could call it backend. You could also call it API. So we're going to just call it API. And inside this API folder, this is now you're going to be your traditional server folder. Just change the name. And inside of this, what we're going to do is we're going to create our index.js file, what they're requiring, right? This is what it's requiring. Inside this index.js, what you want to do is, I have Control plus I to ask chat to do something, but we're not, doing anything like that. Start typing to dismiss. This is like, Copilot and all that stuff on, so no problems over here. Now that we have index.js here, I need to install the Express library. Go back to my terminal. You can see, remember that I was in my root directory. In my root directory, what I'm going to do is npm I, and then I'm going to say Express. Now, if I do this, you can see that there's going to be a node modules folder as well appearing. So right there, because I'm basically creating packages and these packages are going to be consistent throughout our entire application for the backend part. The client has its own node modules inside. So you can see that now, the Express is there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to start, getting the Express to build our backend and our APIs. So what we're going to do is we're going to import Express. So I'm going to say import Express, and we're going to say Express from Express like this. Okay, so this is for importing Express. You're going to actually get it from Express. Now the reason why there might be a problem here is I'll tell you the reason here. Now, right now, what we're going to do is we have to initialize the application. So we say app and we say Express. You can see over here, this is by default. So essentially what you're initializing the application here. So we're going to say app, and then it's going to be initialized. What we want to do now is we want to say app.listen, and we want to make it listen on port 3000. And we want to say, server is running on port 3000, and just close it like this. Now, by default, you think it might work. We're in the root directory, not in our server folder, and we'll have to go to the index.js, right? Now, how are you going to go? You're going to have to go to the API and then the index.js. So the way you could do this, make sure you have Node installed. So if you have Node installed, what you could do is Node, and then we could say API/index.js. Now, this is the error that I was about to I already knew this was going to happen. So warning to load an ES module set type module in the package.json or use the .mjs extension. Okay, now it's saying essentially you're trying to import dependencies and packages like this, what you're doing. So to do this, you have to set up one thing in the package.json, and what you have to do is you have to just set type equal to module. Just copy this and go here after the main, just paste this thing. So type and colon module, and just that's it. Now this problem won't happen again. So just do this again, and you can see right now server is running on port 3000. That means our server is running, which is amazing. It's great that it's working. So what I'm gonna do is, you could see this on your state over here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to localhost port 3000, and right now the server is running on port 3000 right now. There's nothing that you cannot get, so that's by default it's appearing. Now suppose like if I change something like something like this, and it's not being reflected here. The server is running, but it's not being reflected. Obviously you have to turn it off and turn it on again and again to do this. It's really time consuming and error prone. I mean, prone to errors, like you got to come around errors. So a better way to do this is turn it off using Control-C, and essentially it's in the root folder again, in the root. I'm assuming like now you're thinking root is actually where I used to do the server things, but I'm actually creating all the stuff there, and I'm just going to call it through the API folder. So another way to do it, it's another nice way to do it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to install one thing that allows us to restart our server after every single change, and it's called nodemon, npm I nodemon. If I do this, it's going to install it pretty lightweight again, so it should do it in a moment. And then once it's done, you could actually just go to the scripts over here in the package.json, and in here where you see the scripts, you see this test, and all this test script you see, you could actually remove that test script and just add the following thing. So you would say is main, and the main you would have index sorry, so what you would have is you would have dev, and for development you'd have nodemon server. By default it's saying server, but our file is called index.js. All right, so it's going to say index.js, and for the start what we'll have is node, and we'll say, and since it's inside that folder, it's not inside here, it's in that folder, we have to say API, and then we have /index.js. And if I do this, you'll have, we found a reference to public code in a reason. Yeah, so there you go. Perfectly done. Now this is going to automatically allow me to do this. Now this is the best configuration. Reason why I did node API /index.js. This is the best configuration for the render, right? Specifically for this render service that I'm going to be using. Now I've used Vercel, I've used the AWS, I've used Heroku. I use so many services for different type of applications, not just only MERN, but Next.js, Django. But we're trying to use something different, and that's why we're gonna have to apply some of their rules. All right, so that's there. And now let's just run the server once more, and now you don't have to do any of the extra things that we have done. So what I'm going to do is, now we're going to say npm run dev. How am I going to do this? Look at this. It just says now that if I say npm run, and then if I type in dev, it's going to automatically do nodemon, and then it would do index.js. All right, so again, this is one other mistake that I had, is they're both in the API folder. So in the API folder index.js, it should work now. So let's see, and you can see now the server is running from there. Perfectly done. Now if we add one more exclamation mark and save it, it automatically changes it. Perfect. Awesome. This is the configuration that is done, and it's in the we're in the root, we ran it, our server is running perfectly fine. So we basically created the backend and started running the server, and we use Express and all that. Now we're going to go to the next part. And the next part here is I'm going to turn off the server and I'm going to turn off the client over here, which is over here. Clients are normally on my clients are normally on the left side, but now what we're going to do is we're going to connect a database, and we're going to use MongoDB here. So to connect a database, you essentially know how to use the over here. We have to go in the root directory again, and we're going to say npm I mongoose. And over here you could see it's installing. Over here you could actually import. So import, I think we used to do from the other one was that, but yeah. So essentially we could say but I mean there's not that much of a difference, or there's nothing different. So from we have from mongoose, okay, import mongoose from mongoose. Okay, import mongoose from mongoose. Now essentially you have a mongoose as well. Now how are you going to do this? It's super simple. All you got to do is right after the configuration is done there, right? But even before that, I would have the mongoose keyword, and I would say .connect. Now over here, Copilot is asking me to connect a MongoDB string. Where do we get this string from? We'll have to go to mongodb.com. So let's go to mongodb.com/atlas. Make sure you have an account. If you don't have, I've created one before. So I'm going to sign in, and over here we go to the email address. I'm basically going to log in with Google Auth, and we're going to basically implement Google authentication in our app as well. We did this in Next.js project earlier, and I'm going to do this in the MERN app. Pretty awesome stuff. And it's going to look, and then you can see it's already logged in. And over here we have our old application, which is simple CRUD. We're going to create a new project for this one, and we're going to go to the project name, and we're going to say it's going to be called lowercase, I'm going to say MERN-is-state. So like normally I'm just going to keep it MERN-is-state like that. I don't have to give anyone permissions, on myself only, project owner. Some things that you'll have to do is, now you have to go to the database and create a database. So I went to the database, and over here I'm going to go build a database, and over here we're going to go with M0, because we could normally start this, and if the application scales with a lot of users, you could easily upgrade it. AWS, the region that's close to mine, and you could change the cluster to any cluster you want. So I'll call my cluster as a MERN-is-state. The last character on the 23rd character of cluster name can't be a hyphen, or the 20. All right. So we'll call it MERN-is-state cluster name. You don't have to do anything, and just create it. And once it's done, you'll see now it says username and password. This is my username. We could put the username somewhere here. So I'm gonna actually create a sample text file, and I know it's gonna blow it up with so many files. So one thing I wanted to bring up was that if you guys are looking for some cool merch, I just recently launched Coding Cleverly merch, and if you want, go check it out. It's going to be also on the bottom of the videos, and you could go in the shop tab to it to see some cool merch, and also recommend me what other products that I should add in to the page. So we have the username here, and for the for the password, I'm gonna go here, and essentially you could actually make your own password as well, but right now I'll just keep it like that. It really doesn't matter. Okay, these are some extra side notes. Right, so this is the password. Create user. Let's just create that user. Come on, create it. Okay, we'll use cloud environment in this case on this time, because we're trying to basically upload this online, and we're just trying to make it a little different. IP address, this is essentially my IP right now, but if you want to allow it to be used everywhere, you could just type in 0.0.0.0/0. If I add this entry, you can see that it's going to be automatically entered here, and that means now this is allowed to be accessed anywhere from any different device. Now, if I finish and close, you can see congratulations on setting up your access rules. Go to overview. This is pretty redundant because I've done this so many times. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the MERN estate and we're going to try to connect it. And over here, you can see drivers and Compass and Shell and MongoDB for VS Code. We're going to go for the drivers and we're going to see NodeJS. Latest version, we're going to install MongoDB. I believe we have it installed, but you know, it's always a better practice to double check and install. So pip install, I mean, not pip. We're going to say npm I MongoDB, MongoDB. Okay. So this should done, complete it. And then after that, we get our connection string that I already copied in my clipboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it right here. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put those strings, and in here, I'm going to put my connection string. Now look at this connection string. The first thing is that the username is already pre-filled, but the password is not. So what you want to do is you want to paste the password that you got from the text file. So the password was this one. Just copy this and paste it right in here. So wait a minute. So right in here. So like that. And now the password is there. Now you have the MongoDB. And after the slash, you see this mongodb.net slash, you put your cluster name in here. So MERN underscore, MERN hyphen estate, I think. So I didn't put any underscore. It was MERN hyphen estate. And then slash retry writes and all that. Okay, so that is cool. And we have this automatically filled. If I, just use this, I should get a, like it's connected. There's not going to be any problem over here. So it's just going to connect it, but it's not going to give me any kind of message saying that I've connected or not. So we're going to add some tab here, and let's see what it gives us. Normally, you wouldn't want something like this, but let's just see. npm run and dev. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so we have connected on port 3000. Still, it works. I mean, the MongoDB is connected, but there's no some sort of message or anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and essentially yeah, it's hyphen estate. Perfect. So what I'm actually going to go is I'm going to create a .env to store this URI because it's not safe to put them here. I'm just going to cut this, and what we're going to do is now it's going to throw out errors, right? But the thing is, let's just put it back here and save it. Now we're going to create a new file, and it's going to be a .env. Again, we're not going to be inside the API, but over here in the outer section over here. Let's just zoom in a little, and then over here in the root folder, what you do is you're going to create a .env, and for that you could just call this anything. So right now let's just replace this entire string. So let's copy this entire thing, and we're going to cut it, and we're going to call this as something later on, but we're gonna give a name variable here, Mongo, and it could be anything, and just paste the connection string with the single quotes and put a semicolon here. Okay, so then this is the environment variable, and you could actually call this using process.env and then the name for it, which is Mongo. Okay, now you could actually get that from the env, but for now this is a problem right now. The app is crashing because there's another problem here. You'll understand 1 minute. Okay, the problem is now it's going to crash because it's complaining that there's the URI parameter, open URI, it must be a so the reason why this is being complained is that one thing is that you actually have this connection. I mean, it's working, but we don't have some of the .env installed that allows us to talk to the env over here, which is, so over here we're going to go import .env. and we're going to say from .env. Okay. And in here, now you actually need to install it because they don't know what this module is, right? Turn it off everything and we say npm I, and we say .env, because for the .env file that you created here, you actually need this dependency library, and I'm assuming now it's going to understand it, but before that we have to add one small code which is called .env.configuration. This is going to make it understand, and right after this you could run the code using npm run dev, and it's still complaining about the and now it's actually it was the Mongo database throw new Mongo invalid scheme. Okay. Was the MongoDB, I mean, URL correct? I mean, I think this semicolon, it says Mongo colon MongoDB expected connection string invalid scheme expected connections and to start with MongoDB colon slash slash. Oh, okay. It's not starting with MongoDB colon slash slash. Did I mess up with the connection string or something? Let me just recheck my connection string. No, it's this one. It is like this. So we're gonna cross it out, and I mean I did this before. So slash, we say MERN hyphen estate, and then we have the password here, right here, and you know, it should be working. Okay, so we actually have one other thing, which is .then, and if it's connected, you could actually put in this round bracket and say console.log MongoDB connected. Okay, and we could say .catch, and you could give in an error. Okay, so error, and we could console.log the error. All right, there's an extra round bracket that's created here, but yes, this is the thing here. Okay, so now after adding all of this, because this was required, we have our fix here. So perfect, server is running and MongoDB is connected to MongoDB, perfectly aligned. Congrats, so far so good. We have connected our MongoDB, and you could see that, you know, it's working really fine. And you can see this is our client folder, this is that other folder, and you know, things are working out really good. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you know, remember that GitHub repo that we created before. Essentially, I actually need one more file, and I'm going to create one in the root folder, and this is going to be called .gitignore. Now these are used to ignore the files that you might not need. Some the example like would be in.env. You don't want that, and save it. And you want, and now it's grayed out. You know, node_modules. You don't want that one. So like that. So that's grayed out as well. I think it's ./. So ./. Okay, right now it's not. Now it's grayed out. Okay. It wasn't grayed out here. I don't know, something's happening to my keyboard. Okay, so slash node modules, and both of these would be, you know, grayed out. Perfect. Now we could, you know, basically add this to GitHub. Okay. So over here, we go to the GitHub repo. And we say git add git commit -m, and we say db connected. All right. And what else did we do? We made backend plus made backend express backend. Normally you could say that in the beginning, but no worries. Git push -u origin and main. Like, I normally don't add this, but it's a good practice to add these, and this is just gonna help you guys out so you could see you know, the differences. Now I'm gonna check my, there's a lot of going on, so I'm gonna go GitHub travel blog, and the name is called MERN estate. And this is the application, and you'd see that there's going to be new folders here, API client, and there's gitignore, but there's no other file that was existing. And you can see in the commits, we have 3 commits, and the recent commit that I did, it was this one, and you can see some of the changes that were made. So, you know, all of them are making much more sense, like this gitignore that we added just now, and all this like index.js where we added this code for the MongoDB, right? And also, you know, the package.json that has been added.